Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Happy Saturday. Hey, if you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., let me know that you're here. Just type happy Saturday in the chat. Our team is watching, and we're giving away some pretty sweet books today to those that are playing full out. So if you're playing full out down in the chat section, in the comment section, then we've got some books we're going to be giving away. We're watching for that. So let me know that you're here. Next thing, because the elections are over and the interest rates just dropped another quarter point, we have an interesting market heating up right now. A lot of people were sitting on the sidelines. They kept saying for a couple of months, saying, well, I need to see what happens with the election. And now the election results have dropped and the smart money is starting to move. And I'm talking in big ways, not the $5,000 checks, not the $100,000 checks, the $1 million plus check sizes. If you have been looking for that for some of your real estate deals, you'll want to pay attention to this. We're going to be going through how to find, fund, and manage distressed commercial real estate. Okay, if that sounds interesting to you, we just got done buying a beautiful property ourselves. I'm going to put it up on the screen here for a second. So as you're getting settled in here, check this puppy out. So we just bought this one. This is Barksdale Flats over in Memphis, Tennessee. And we were blessed. We got an amazing, amazing price on this thing. It was $5.7 million is what the seller paid for it 2 years ago. We just closed it at $3.3 million. So it's a massive, massive discount on it. And Philip and CJ, I think we can start letting people in too. We've got a couple folks in the waiting room right now. Let's start letting everybody in that's live with us as we go as well. Welcome, guys. Welcome, Les. Welcome, Cynthia. Welcome, Austin. There's a whole bunch more people getting signed on right now. Awesome. Happy Saturday, guys. If I'm okay audio-wise coming to you right now, just put a hello in the chat. We're watching the chat right now. We want to make sure that the stream comes through for everybody fine and dandy. And for those of you that are playing full out today, I got some prizes we're giving away. We've got a couple of books, one of my favorites. If you've ever wanted to learn how to do this business and not pay tax, like literally either wipe out or dramatically reduce your income tax, I'm going to be giving away this book. And I've also got another one of my favorites called 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World's Class. These are some of the wealthiest people in the world got interviewed, and a lot of their secrets got put into this book right here. So I've got some goodies for those that are playing full out today. I'm just trying to make it fun on a Saturday, and let us know. We tried to do this to accommodate folks for Saturday that work 9-to-5 jobs or at least are busy Monday through Friday. Let me know in the chat. Is Saturday helpful? Yes or no in the chat. We're watching that chat section, that comment section. Yes or no down in the comments. Is Saturday helpful for you? Yeah. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Cool. So here's what we're covering today, guys. We have been buying distressed assets. And I would define a distressed asset really simple. It's something, a piece of real estate, commercial in our case, that we buy at a discount. Why do they come at discounts? How do they come at discounts? Where do you find them? Where do you fund them? How do you come up with the investors for them or the lender for them or the earnest money for them? Today, we're covering all of that and more. We've just entered a very unique position in the marketplace. I haven't seen a market look like this since 2009. We have a presidential administration that just changed, that's very pro-real estate, pro-business, pro-development. We also have an economy that's on the rocks right now. It's very thin ice. I'm originally from Minnesota. I live in Florida now, but originally in Minnesota, we used to talk about the ice. You couldn't walk on it until it got really thick. Right now, the economy is on very thin ice. It's kind of waiting to be shattered. And so there's a lot happening right now that's opening up opportunity for people like you and people like me as real estate investors. So first and foremost, welcome. Second, if I haven't had a chance to meet you, my name is Nate Armstrong. I'm co-CEO over here at Home Invest. I got a chance about, I don't know, 12 years ago now to go to a real estate conference down in Phoenix. When I was there was this guy speaking about these huge development projects that he had going on in Chicago. And I was excited. This guy drove a Lamborghini. He had a presidential Rolex. Like, I was excited because I saw what they had done in a short window of time. And so I wanted in on the project. I get home to my wife. A couple weeks later, I get paperwork and I'm about to sign it. And my wife, Jennifer, says, "Are you sure you should do this?" And I said, "Yeah, this is how we grow. Like, this is how we continue to level up and scale up." She said, "Well, do you know development?" I said, "No, I don't know development." She said, "Do you know Chicago?" I said, "No, I don't know Chicago. That's why we're working with this group, this team. Like, we're bringing money, we're bringing our credit, but they're going to do all the work on the ground." And she said, "Well, do you know this guy?" I said, "Well, everybody at the event knew this guy. Like, he's kind of a celebrity at this event." And she said, "Well, I don't think we should do this." And I said, "Jennifer, this is what we need to grow. This is how we go to the next level. We've been doing single families and rentals for a while, but we need to go to the next level. This is how we do it. So as head of household, I'm making the decision, we're in." 6 months later, I got a phone call from Lamborghini Boy's partner. And he said, "Nate, we're upside down on this project. We're going to have to all jump ship. We're out." And I'm like, what do you mean upside down? What do you mean jump ship? Like, this is real estate. Like, let's just get this thing done. Like, let's push through it. He said, "No, Nate, we're all out." I go home and I'm telling my wife, next thing was we're ripping duffel bags out of the house, loading them into the car. We're moving from Minnesota to Chicago to take over this development. We moved from our lake house in Minnesota. We're listing everything, selling it all, selling our sailboat. We're moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. And I worked tirelessly until that development project was done. Except when it was done, I had nothing left. After fueling contractors and late fees and everything else, I was drained financially. And I had to do the one thing that I hope you never have to go through. I had to go through bankruptcy. Now, I immediately got back to work. I found someone doing something interesting in real estate and I modeled it. And within 6 months, we were coming back. We were making money again. First, it was $40,000 and then it was 100. And within 6 months, we had brought in $500,000. At the end of the year, that was our first ever $1 million year. I still remember it. We got to move out of that 1-bedroom apartment. We moved into the suburbs, got our baby who grew up a little bit at this point. We started getting him into activities, still sharing a car. I'm still tithing. I'm still like working from a home office. And that's when the bankruptcy attorney called and said, "Nate, they don't think you went bankrupt. They think that because you went from 0 to $1 million so fast, you must have hid money." So I got nothing to hide. Just show them everything. Like, show them everything. I said, "Nate, it doesn't work like that. The way this works is that they have a perception and they could drag you through court for years." I turned to my wife, we turned to my mother-in-law, Anna, and we said, "Anna, will you pray with us?" We pray this week, the next week, the next. After 3 months of this prayer, I got a phone call from the bankruptcy attorney and he said, "Nate, this has never happened in state history." Like, "Well, what?" He said, "Well, the trustee just called me out of the blue and she just decided to dismiss your case." Hallelujah. He says, "No, Nate, this isn't a hallelujah. This is a coincidence." And I said, "Well, you just said this never happened." And next thing I know, we're getting phone calls. We make the newspaper. This is a really big deal. Our innocence is proven. All the dismissals are in the air. And people start asking us, "How do you do this?" And that's why we're here right now. We're going to show you what we do to go out there and find properties like this, to fund them. We kind of became experts in the whole distressed realm because we were in distress ourselves. And so for those of you that are looking for the distress deal, the real killer deal, pay attention to what we're teaching today because that's what we're covering. That's our specialty. It's our niche. We're going through it. Those of you that just joined know that we are giving away some books today. I've got one of my favorites. My partner, Chris, is going to jump up in a little bit too, and he's going to talk about some of his. But we're giving away some books to those that are fully engaged. What does fully engaged mean? Well, if you remember the school system back in the day when you went to school, if I asked you a question like, when was Theodore Roosevelt president? Put a 1 in the chat if you do not know when Theodore Roosevelt was president. Put a 1 in the chat if you don't know when he was president. Good old Teddy. Cynthia, thank you for your honesty. Yeah, like it's hard because we don't retain stuff and it's not your fault. Les says I can look it up. Yeah, you can. We all have got AI now. it's not your fault though. Like the reason that we don't retain some of those things is because the old school system model is a little bit broken. I mean, today, especially, they're teaching all kinds of stuff in schools that maybe they should focus on more math and history, but instead, the way that studies show you actually retain, it's not sit down, be quiet. That's what school, sit down, be quiet, sit down, be quiet. Now, what studies are showing is that active engagement is where learning is made. Active engagement is where you retain things. So if you want to retain what we're going to teach, and we're going to be going through some very fascinating things on how you can get these beautiful killer off-market commercial deals. If you want to retain this, it comes down to how much you participate. So our little ethical bribe is that for the folks that are playing full out, we're going to be giving away some books. So use that chat section. If you're on camera with us, that's almost a guarantee for a seat of winning, a winnership seat. That wouldn't be a word. But yeah, the more you play full out, the more you're going to learn, the more you retain. And so we're going to reward that as we go. Okay, quick. My attorney says I have to give a disclaimer. My disclaimer is this: we're not CPAs, we're not tax people. Like, we are fellow real estate investors. So anything that we're sharing here, we're doing it from the angle of us as fellow real estate investors. We're not trying to give you specific financial or tax advice. We're also not soliciting your investments. Like, literally, we're here just sharing our hearts out. Our results also are not typical. We've been at this for a long time. I'm going to bring up Chris in a little bit here. And Chris has done over 1,600 real estate deals. I've had the blessing of doing over 1,400 real estate deals. And so, like, we've just been in this game. We've been practicing for a while, okay? If you don't know us, you can Google us. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we've had the blessing and privilege of meeting a lot of interesting people. Spent some good time with Pace Morby, Donald Trump Jr., his father just won the presidency. Also, we've won an Inc. 500 award. It's all of this stuff. They're amazing honors. But what I'm most thankful for is the people that I get to work with every single day on the team. These are the people that really make the difference. And one of them is a guy I'm going to introduce briefly. And his name is Chris Strickland. Chris, if you're here and able to talk, can we pull you up for a moment?
Hey, Nate. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you stepping on. You're one of the most humble, so I'm just going to kind of brag on you for a second. 1,600 plus real estate deals, yet you still go to church. You still take time for stuff like this. Why haven't you like moved to Malibu and just sat on Instagram all day?
I'm not much of a Malibu kind of person, but I love it. I love getting out there, working the deals. I like working with people. I mean, what's better than that? So yeah, just drive a regular truck. I mean, yeah, it's the good life.
Our community's been blessed by you, Chris. We're going to pull you up a little bit more in just a bit here, but thank you very much. So we're going to be hearing more from Chris as we go in just a little bit here, but Chris is one of those good guys that still comes back to share and just give back to the community. So I'm not as smart as Chris, just FYI. I'm kind of an average guy. I'm a mere mortal next to him. I was in Rome a few months ago, and I got to snap this picture because as I was driving out of the city to go to a different city, my family and I, we look over and we're like, what is that? Is that the Colosseum? Let's go. And so we go find this parking spot up on top of the hill, and we get out of the car and we start walking down the hill. And about halfway down, I'm like, did I lock the car? I think I locked the car. Yeah, I locked the car. Yeah, I remember the lights flashed a couple of times. I locked the car. My wife says, I don't like this area. I said, okay, well, let's hurry up. Let's go fast. Let's just get this picture and get out of here. Get down to the bottom of the hill, snap the picture. My 4-year-old's looking at me like, Dad, carry me, carry me. So we start going back up the hill, walking as fast as we can, get about halfway up the hill, and I look up. Is that guy parallel parking next to our car? Okay, he's parallel parking. Look, he's getting out of the car to help the driver. What's he doing to our car? He's smashing the window. He's smashing the window of our car. At this point, adrenaline hits, habits kick in. I throw my 4-year-old up on my shoulder. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Distress happens. Okay, Chris and I get the pleasure of covering what distress is today. We're going to teach you how we're finding distressed assets, how we're funding them, and how we're managing the properties once we have them under our control. Okay. At the very end of this, if you think that Chris and I did an amazing job teaching you all this stuff and you feel like this is something that you could really get your arms around and you want to spend some time with us, if you want to work with Chris and I directly, I'm going to put this out there now. We have an event coming up on Friday and Saturday next week. It's literally less than $300, and we're taking the majority of the proceeds and we're giving them to our nonprofit. If that sounds interesting to you, I'm going to ask CJ or Philip to put the link in the chat now in case someone has to go. There's limited seating on it. There's a whole bunch of bonuses, and the bonuses are almost gone. We're down to the last 7 spots for it. So if that's interesting to you, then grab a ticket on the link right there. Philip or CJ, if you, okay, you got it there. Awesome. Cool. But let Chris and I prove ourselves as we go here. Okay. So what is a distressed asset? We feel that, at least in our world, a distressed asset is a multifamily commercial property that's being sold at a discount because of some outside force. You might hear of these in real estate as the Ds, the 4 Ds: debt, divorce, disease, and death. Although you can get deals in any of those, like when someone goes through divorce, a lot of times the court forces the husband and wife to sell the property, and then sometimes it's sold at a discount. Although there's opportunity in all 4 of those, we're leaning on debt because the market is allowing for that right now. I also don't like to, I'm kind of a lazy investor. I don't like to have to go in and like do massive rehabs to stuff. And I find that when you get one that's gone through distress because of the debt, it's easier to turn around. And I'll explain that in just a second, okay? The debt ones are the easiest. Back in 2009, this graph shows 2 things. Number one, back in 2009, you see that dip in the middle?
Hey, Nate, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, that's not going to help at all. Let's get that back up. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Oh man, you guys missed the Coliseum photo. I'm sorry about that. So back in 2009, we had this phenomenon going on inside the country called the subprime mortgage crisis. And it drove the whole economy down. Who remembers that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember 2009, 2010, the whole market coming down. Values came down on almost everything. If you remember that, put a 1 in the chat. Yeah, it was an interesting time to be alive, number one. But number 2, there was a lot of opportunity. You can see on this slide, it shows how much opportunity there was. We had discounted assets everywhere. I was very fortunate and was able to get in on a lot of those because I had good folks giving me guidance and teaching me. And a lot of those properties doubled in value, tripled in value. Some of them quadrupled in value. And fast forward to right now, multifamily is in the same bucket as it was back in 2009. Sales came to a halt when interest rates went up. Single family is not. Single family is not on this list that I'm going to show you right now. You can see here, if you go to the far right side of this list, there's a whole bunch of negative signs. This means that the market dropped in commercial real estate. It didn't drop in single family house real estate. And so the one that we're going to focus on mostly is the one that Chris and I know the best, which is apartment buildings, multifamily. We've both invested in other stuff, commercial offices, car washes. Chris and I have also done some interesting industrial plays. But where we're spending almost all of our time right now is multifamily because we feel that's the most, it's bottomed out, number 1. It's got the most upside long-term, number 2. And we feel like this country, because of housing shortages, this is going to be the best asset class to be in. So what does it mean to be distressed with debt? Well, the property that we had up on the screen, this property in Memphis, Tennessee, it's called Barksdale Flats. The seller took out a loan 2 years ago. That particular loan was going into default because their loan expired. You see, in commercial real estate, they don't do 30-year fixed mortgages like single-family houses. Commercial, they do 1-year loans, 2-year loans, 5-year loans, sometimes 10-year loans. Maybe if you're really, really blessed, you'll get 15 years locked and fixed for that period of time. But most of them are short-term. This seller took out a short-term loan. And then just now, this is a month ago now, we closed on it 3-4 weeks ago, the seller's loan expired. And because they did not get the property where they thought they were going to get it, they were going to lose it to foreclosure. And so we stepped in and we bailed them out of a tough spot. We ended up buying it for substantially less than they paid, but at least we were paying off their mortgage. You see, they paid $5.7 million for it, and we just got it for $3.3 million. Where they failed now and this is interesting, pay attention. Where they failed is that they tried to convert this into a Airbnb for traveling nurses. They tried to take a perfectly good multifamily property and convert it to a different use. And unfortunately, that use just didn't work. Airbnbs are starting to die off now in some cities. And anyways, we're going to take it back to a regular multifamily property. Our team is doing that right now as we speak. And so you can see, good deal, bad loan. All we have to do is come in and fix the loan. Okay, cool. So how did we know that was a good deal? We put deals into our instant underwriting calculator. You have to have a tool like this. Like if you're wondering, how do I know if it's good or bad? Every single deal you look at, you have to be able to measure the numbers against previous deals. Always, always, always. So we put it into our instant underwriting calculator, and it tells us when we should take the deal or walk away from the deal. Kind of like this one. This property is in St. Cloud, Minnesota. We paid $492,000 for this property. Now, little different strategy in this one, little different distress. The seller on this one did not have a bad loan, but he did have some bad problems with tenants and some bad problems with the city in repairs. He wasn't able to keep up with repairs. Tenants were calling the city, and the city was about to condemn the property. He had some distress. We ended up getting in touch with them, and we said, hey, tell you what, we'll buy it, $492,000. We'll cash you out, and then we'll finish the repairs. We'll take care of it from here. Seller was relieved. Seller had owned it for a while and said, yeah, please. Now, we partnered with an investor on it. We'll tell you about the funding strategy in just a little bit. We partnered with an investor on this thing so that they would put up the cash with us. And then we went to a bank and we did something that's called a cash out refinance. Fancy terms for, hey, bank, we got this property. We'd like you to put a loan on it. Could you send an appraiser out and put a loan on it? The bank did that, and then they handed us a check for $962,000. Is that more or less than we put in the deal? Type that in the chat for me. Is that more or less than we put in the deal? Originally, we bought this thing for $492,000. We got a check from the bank for $962,000. Is that more or less? Yeah. Now I'm going to give you a bonus question here. I haven't given the answer for this yet, but I'm just going to test. This is a good group. You guys are really good. I love this so far. Okay. When you get cash out like that, when we got that check for $962,000, was that taxable? Yes or no? Was that $962,000 taxable? Yes or no? This is advanced questioning here. This might trip some of us up because it seems like it should. And we're a little bit split on this. I see that. Okay, cool. Clint says nope. Reasonable investor says don't know. Fair enough. Austin says no. Yeah, so when you get a cash out refinance, it's actually not taxable. So we were able to hand our investor back all of his cash and then still split cash flow. We had a loan on it, yes. We had to pay the loan payment, the taxes, the insurance, but at the end of the day, we had beautiful rent roll on it, lots of rent coming in. So we were able to pay the mortgage, tax, insurance, and still split the cash flow. And then what happened on this one, in the second year of ownership, we had an investor come to us out of the blue and said, hey, I'll pay you 1.7 for this building. And so we sold it. We sold it. So when we took that original refi, it was tax-free. More on that in a little bit, okay? How do we know it was a good deal? Instant underwriting calculator every single time. Now, I want to cover for a minute the advantages, like why we're really in this marketplace. Why are we going after distressed assets like this? And I'm going to focus it around something called infinite returns. I'm going to go through some tax breaks, high level today. And then we'll go through why there's way less competition in this space. Now, let me ask you this. When I say the word foreclosure, what is the first feeling that comes to you? Type in the chat. Or distress, forbearance. What comes to your brain when you hear terms like that? Bank mitigated sale, short sale, sheriff sale, bank note expiring. What feeling comes to you? Type it in the chat. I just want to get your immediate gut reaction. When you hear terms like that, what kind of feelings come to you? Bank mitigated sale, sheriff sale, auction, no due diligence process. Less I like you, moneymaker. Yeah. Okay, so and we get a little bit of split on this. Some people are like, yeah, that's opportunity. I want that. Other people are like, I don't know. That seems scary. Chris, do you ever get nervous when you were buying 50 to 100 properties at one time in one bulk package? Did you get scared?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, certainly nervous. I think the fear subsided over time. But yeah, I do remember the nervousness. But then just like what Les said, after a while, you're like, there's this excitement that builds up. But I do remember those early days where I was like, it kind of, it did definitely bring some nervousness out in there, some butterflies for sure.
So that's what happens to most people. They get nervous. Now, you guys are an awesome group. I mean, Chris and I are seeing this. We work with a lot of different real estate investors, and you guys are awesome. You already know some of these terms, and you're ahead of the curve. So you're not scared. The majority of the marketplace is. So 90% of your competition is eliminated on these deals. That Memphis deal that we just had up on the screen, we had nobody else bidding against us. Imagine that. Zero competition. That's the kind of deals you really want to get on. When you've got multiple offers and things like that, that's really hard to do. But zero competition, that's the beautiful thing. Now, let me ask you this. If you hypothetically invested $100,000 into this deal with us, you can't, this one's already closed, so I'm not asking for any money, not soliciting that. But if you did, at the end of year number one, if we gave you a check back for $10,000, what would your return be, your ROI? If you invested $100,000 and you got $10,000 back from the rents at the end of year number one, how much would your ROI have been? Let me ask you this. Put it in the chat for me. What would your ROI have been if you would have invested 100 grand and you got 10 grand back at the end of year number one? We're doing some math. Yeah, nice, Austin. Nice, Les. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, cool. What would your ROI have been? Beautiful, Kazam. Nice, Clint. I like your number better, Clint. What would your ROI have been if you got all of your money back, your original 100 grand at the end of year number one, plus you got 10 grand on top? What was your ROI at that point? Okay, so we went at the end of year number one, we got all of our cash back, and we got an extra 10%. What is the ROI on that? Yeah, you guys are amazing. So Reasonable says 110, Sharon says 110. Okay, how about this? Year number one, you got 10,000 plus your $100,000 back. Year number two, rents went up. Now you got $12,000 on year number two. Year number three, rents go up again, you get 14,000. Year number four, rents go up again, you get 15,000. Year number five, rents go up again, you get $16,000. What is your return on investment then? What can we call that? What is that return on investment? You got all your money back in year number one, and it keeps going up. Your distributions keep going up every single year. What is that return on investment at that point? Now, I know the financial calculators won't say this, but is it reasonable? Les says amazing. I like that answer. Is it reasonable if we call that an infinite return? Yeah, Bruce, I like that. Boom, infinite, okay? Now, I know the financial calculators will never say the word infinite, but that's what we like to call it here. It's how we categorize it when we can get all of our money back, plus get cash flow for life from properties. That's infinite. The only way, and we've had the success of doing this now well over 300 times, where we go buy a property, we improve it, we go to the bank, we refinance it, we get our cash, and we go to the next deal. We've done that over 300 times. The only way that we find that we can do that is if we get a truly good deal. You can't buy an average deal to get that. You've got to get a killer deal. And that's why these distressed assets come into play. Habits. So out of habit, I threw my 4-year-old up on my shoulder. I'm running up the hill. I'm screaming, no, no. I know they heard me. The one guy looked at me. I saw him in the eyes. Habits are what made me throw my son up on the shoulder. Habits are what drove the decision for me just to start running and charging up the hill, right or wrong. Habits. How many of you here, put a 1 in the chat, feel like you've got good habits? Put a 1 in the chat. If you feel like you got some good habits, put a 1 in the chat. Did you know 40%, this is a Duke study, 40% of your daily decisions are driven by habit. It's almost half, 40%. Okay. Put a 2 in the chat if you also know that you've got some bad habits. I'm going to hold up a number 2 because I know I have some bad habits. If you've got some bad habits, put a 2 in the chat. Yeah. Thank you for your honesty. Thanks, Chris, for your honesty too. Yes. Okay. So these habits, because they're driving decisions, is it fair to say that decisions can drive these habits that we're using every single day? Is it fair to say that if we make a decision based on the habit, that decision can drive where we end up? I mean, like, you're here today, you took a decision. Obviously, at some point you saw a video and you're like, hey, I want to see what these guys have to say. Is it fair to say that your decisions can drive where you end up? Your destiny, your destination, so to speak. Is that fair? Okay. Yes. One quick example. We're going to get back into content in a second. I got to cover something in just a minute that's going to ruffle some feathers, and it's going to probably come into collision with some of the things that are in your brain right now. So I want to make sure that we do this together. Okay. I'm going to do an exercise with you. I want you to put a 1 in the chat when I go 1, 2, 3, go. Only put the 1 there once I say that, okay? So it'll be 1, 2, 3, go. Put a 1 in the chat. 1, 2, 3, go. Now you type a 1 in the chat. Perfect, okay? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I didn't say go. I didn't say go. But still, some of us put a 1 in the chat. Why? Because we created a habit after just 3 repetitions. Okay, this will be more powerful for you. Put your hands together like this. You don't have to type on the keyboard for just a minute, but just put your hands together like this just for a second. Hold them up. Now, if your right thumb is over your left thumb, I just want you to cross it. Just cross it to the unnatural way. Okay, cross it and then type in the chat how that feels. When you cross your thumb the opposite way, how does it feel? Type that in the chat for me. How does it feel when you cross your thumb the opposite way? Chris says unnatural. Christy says strange. Yeah. Not right. Weird. Yes. The reason that I'm doing this is because I want you to see that sometimes these habits that drive our destinations in life, these habits that equal decisions that eventually equal our destiny, sometimes they might not be taking us in the right direction. Sometimes we're just doing it out of habit. Such as in America right now, we've got 24% of households who don't have dad around. Imagine kids growing up without dad, 24% of American households. Just 2 generations ago, that was unheard of. And now 24%. What were the decisions that led to that? I don't know all of them, but I know that the nonprofit that we have, that we fuel, they're helping solve that. I wish our government was doing more for that, but unfortunately they're not. I'm going to talk about tax breaks that all of us here as Americans are eligible for. This is a pride of mine because what we're doing to fuel nonprofits right now, we get a lot of the money from saving on taxes, our own savings, and then that for our investors. I won't dive too deep down this rabbit hole because there's limited time today, but I'm going to say this. We literally wrote the book on this. I had a chance to work with the family office. This family office, it's where they manage wealthy people's money. I remember the CPA in the room, he said, Nate, we love what you're doing with real estate, but you got to change everything when it comes to tax. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you got to do this, this, and this. And he gave me 4 steps. And it's all broken into this book. It's called the Sarah Method. At a very high level, like that conversation changed my life from a tax perspective. I literally learned how the rich played the game that day. And so little things like this, I'll kind of show you this at a high level. We bought this property on your screen right here. It's a 72-unit building. I love this one. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. Anyways, on this particular one, it's bringing in good, strong, like rents and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But what's more important is the tax benefits. You see on your screen right here, this is literally from the specialist that did the report for us, that handed it to the IRS, saying how much we can save in taxes year number one. You guys see that number on the bottom right side of the screen? If you see that, type that in the chat for me. What is that number? What is that number you see in your screen? That number is the tax savings that we got year number one on this property, just for buying it. Thank you, Chris. 976. Yeah, $976,000. Did you know that anyone here as an American, you're eligible to get the same tax savings if you follow the rules that the IRS set out for you? If you invest in real estate, you can get the same tax savings that I can if you follow all the rules. Now, there's no free lunch. Okay, you got to follow the rules. You got to fit within this box. But if you're already planning to invest in real estate and you want to save on your taxes, then pay attention to this stuff. Most people have no idea what this is. We have a client named Alex Landau. He's in New York. He's a trader. He makes quite a bit of money for a young single guy. Like, he's doing really well. He's one of the top 10 traders in New York for his specific currency. He used to get clobbered on taxes. He invested in that deal because it saves him on his taxes. He's able to use this tax offset to wipe out some of his ordinary income, okay? Or Eric Dwyer, this guy in the middle right here, Eric, he was one of the original Bitcoin miners before Bitcoin mining got cool, and he made quite a bit. Now when he sells that Bitcoin, he's got massive gains that he needs to offset. He also invested into that deal for the tax savings. For someone like me, we had a really good financial year. We probably should have paid around $200K extra in taxes, and we ended up getting a refund because of that deal and one other deal. We got a refund check of 24 grand and some change. That's the power that these tax savings can have. Or Matt Lewis. Matt Lewis is one of the most brilliant sales guys that I know. He makes quite a bit of money, and him and his wife Denise, they bought this 3-unit. Watch this. They bought it for $400,000. They had to put down $130,000 down payment. And here's what his tax guy said. This is a screenshot that I took from the email he forwarded to me. He said, hey, look, year number one, you can get $106,000 back. Who remembers his down payment? If you remember his down payment, put it in the chat for me. What was his down payment on that particular deal? I'll flash back for a second. What was his down payment on that deal? I want you to see the math on this, and this is where it starts to get really exciting. Yeah, 130, exactly. And on year number one on his tax returns, he got 106 back. And then if you read here, it says year number two, he gets more. Year number three, he gets more. Like, just from a tax perspective alone, let alone the cash flow, deals like this can make sense. I don't have time to go deep into this next one, but there's another strategy inside the tax code that's called repair versus replace. And if you do things like repairs, like we're buying this building right here, this one, God willing, we'll close it here in the next 3 weeks. But if you go in, like you got flooring, we could go in and rip out the floors and put in brand new floors, or we could sand the floors and stain the floors. When you do repairs, you get more tax deductions, or you're eligible to get more year number one. Chris and I will be going really deep on that at the 3-day event. We'll also be covering how to qualify for it. So if that's of interest to you, then make sure you pay attention to it. Guys like Dr. Mash. Dr. Mash has been investing with us now for 12, maybe 13 years, 65 plus deals. And he just called me about a month ago and he said, hey, Nate, what's that whole tax saving thing that you taught me about? And so I wrote an email for him and for a CPA, and he now got this status. Now he's doing the same thing finally after 12 or 13 years, but he's going to start saving on his taxes massively too. But what I need to get to right now is, how do you fund these things? Okay. So who here would like kind of the playbook on how to fund these properties? Put a 1 in the chat. If you want the playbook, you want the resources, you'd like to know where we're getting funds to do this deal, put a 1 in the chat. Awesome. Okay. We're going to go through this right now. We're going to go through proof of funds, earnest money, bridge lenders, stabilized lenders, seller financing, and assumable. This is pretty much the package you need to do deals like this. First off, proof of funds. Chris, why is this man who you've been helping and mentoring for the last 2 years, Aaron from Canada, Why is he smiling with a big grin on his face?
Well, Aaron is smiling. First of all, he's just absolutely fantastic, but he is smiling because he was able to get this um, 72 unit RV park under contract because of, what we've taught him to find the deals, but also how to secure the deals with the funding package that you're talking about.
So Aaron, he was working this deal. He exchanged numbers with you. I don't know how many times, and you were helping him. But what it came down to is the seller basically said, "Hey, we're interested in doing this deal with you, but you got to show us proof of funds." And I remember we were going back and forth in our messenger thread with them, and our team gave them this. This is our bank statement, and we said, "Hey, here you go. Show them this. Proof of funds is just a validation for the seller that you have the ability to close on it. It can be a bank statement, it can be a 401k statement, it could be an IRA statement, whatever that shows the cash on hand could be something that could potentially close the deal or be enough for the down payment." For this particular one, it was enough to cover what he needed. He had negotiated with the seller 5% down, and the seller was going to do seller financing for the rest. And we were able to get a bank statement to help him with that. Chris, is it, I don't know if I should say this, like, I know it's possible to get a deal done without proof of funds, but likely scenario, our seller is going to ask for this at some point. Proof of funds.
Oh, in my experience, they absolutely will, simply because they want to know that whoever they're dealing with is for real, that they're going to be able to actually fulfill, their obligation to buy the property and everything. They don't want to waste their time. And so, yeah, in my experience, especially on the commercial side of things, right? The multifamily commercial side of things, then you'll run into this a lot. So yes, proof of funds, absolutely crucial.
And is it fair to say that that's why you spent so much time curating relationships to get someone that can step up for individuals to do proof of funds? Like, I know you did that. You took your own initiative on that.
Well, so here's the deal. Proof of funds are crucial, but I'd be curious to know over in the chat. Actually, let me back up on that. Let's make this a rhetorical question rather than a question for you all to answer. But just ask yourselves, everyone, if you were faced with this killer deal, right? A killer deal where they are willing to seller finance 95% of the purchase of the property, and you only have to come up with 5%. That's it. And I think on this case, it was about a $5 million deal. And so, Aaron literally had to come up with like $250,000 and everything. We don't want to miss out on those types of deals. And so I bet a lot of you are thinking, well, that's a great deal, but I don't have the $250,000 liquid. I don't have it in my account. I don't have it where I can show them that I can do this. So what we did is we went out and we found folks that are willing to basically provide a proof of funds, right? Proof of funds, so that we can then submit it to the seller and make it possible for all of us to be able to go do those deals, whether we have it in our own bank account or not. You're going to be able to show those proof of funds.
It's beautiful. So if you want Chris's resource to get proof of funds, and I'm going to cover this one at the same time, put a 1 in the chat. If you want Chris's resource to get proof of funds, put a 1 in the chat. I see Clint, he said that he keeps his POF, his proof of funds, in his credibility packet. That's awesome, Clint. And that's how important it is. The next one is earnest money. This is like a deposit that you put down to show the seller that you're real. On the particular property on the screen right here, the seller wanted $300,000 earnest money. It was no small ask by any means. And we provided that. That's part of the whole thing. Put a 1 in the chat if you want Chris's resource to get earnest money funding. Put a 1 in the chat. Chris, you better not go anywhere yet, man.
Looks like people want it. So here's the deal. If proof of funds is crucial to be able to prove that that the money's available, Earnest money is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, right? It's where you actually put your money where your mouth is and say, I like this deal so much that I'm willing to put up some cash, some money, uh, to secure the deal, all right, to secure the contract. And so again, going back to the fact that I might not have a bank statement that shows that I have proof of funds. Well, similarly, I might not have the actual cash put up for earnest money. And so there are resources out there. We went out and found some resources for you to be able to borrow that earnest money. So if you don't have $300,000 in cash, sometimes even if you don't have the $25,000 that might be required or whatever the amount is, we have the resources for you to be able to borrow that earnest money as well. We don't want you missing these killer deals that Nate has been describing, because we're heading into a time where you can't afford it. You can't afford to miss out on these deals. So we put together this package that's going to allow you to take advantage of all these resources and get the deals done.
Beautiful. Let's talk bridge loans. So when you need a lender that's the same as cash, that doesn't charge the same amount that hard money lenders do, it's cheaper, then what you're really talking about is a bridge lender. It's literally like, think of a bridge you drive across the river on. You want to get from one side to the other. These lenders, they know that if they borrow their money to you short term, you'll be able to get to the other side and then get a new loan on the property. And so it's treated as cash. It's a super fast close. We have that in that packet that Chris was talking about. We have a bridge lender, the one that we're using right now, that's doing deals like this in today's marketplace. They're tested, they're vetted. We also have lenders that once you get to the other side of the bridge, once you get the property at the right level, it's rented, it's renovated, whatever it takes, then they'll come in and they'll do, it's called stabilized loans. Once the property's at that performing level, they'll come in, put a new loan on the property. If you want all of those, plus the earnest money lender, plus the proof of funds, then stay tuned for just another minute, because Chris has got a package for you of them that you can get all at once. I got to hit two more things really quick on financing, because this marketplace right now, it's been quite crazy with interest rates. There's actually sellers that will finance you, meaning you don't have to go to the bank. We just bought this one 6 weeks ago. This is Pine Tree Path up in Georgetown, Kentucky, near Lexington. This seller, he did not want to pay capital gains. He did not want to sell outright and then not have any income coming in, but he didn't want to keep managing. He was done. And so we worked with him to structure a deal where we're making monthly payments to him. Eventually, those monthly payments will transfer down to his kids and maybe even his grandkids, but we skip the bank altogether. When you find a seller that has some kind of pain point, some kind of distress, you can create scenarios like this. And this isn't some anomaly. We do this all the time, by the way. We found this other seller over in Louisville, Kentucky, in this beautiful little 22-unit building that literally we proposed seller financing to the seller, and the seller said, hey, I actually have a loan that you can assume. And we said, really? What's the interest rate? And we spoke with him, we spoke with the bank, and next thing you know, we assumed his loan. These are out there. They are everywhere right now. You can't go and get a 4.3% loan from the bank, but you can if you work with the seller and they took out the loan some time ago in the past. As I scream at these thugs breaking into my car, no! My 4-year-old's up on the shoulder. He's crying. I'm running. I get to the top. I'm within 20 yards of the car. The thug grabs one more backpack from my back seat. He looks me in the eye. He tosses it into his getaway car. He jumps in the getaway car. Getaway driver puts it in reverse and squeals off. I get to the car, out of breath, exhausted. My wife is still 100 yards behind me. My little boy is crying. There's glass everywhere. My little boy just profusely will not stop crying. And I'm trying to calm him down now. John, it's okay. It's okay. We're good now. We're safe. We're okay. And I start questioning, did I do the right thing? Was that right for me to just charge up this hill? Was that right? And it's probably because I played football back in the day. And I know you look at me and you're like, Nate, you don't look like a football player. But back in the day, I played football, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. But it was really habits. Habits. Habits drive decisions. Decisions drive your destiny. You're here for a reason. You made a decision at some point. Okay. Now, later that night, we're in a new hotel, different city. We got out of town and we're going around checking on the kids and we're praying. And I remember we got to John and we said, John, what are you thankful for today? And John said, I'm thankful that we didn't get shot. Talk about crushing. Now I'm really questioning, did I do right as a father? My mom, or my wife, being a good mom, probably like a lot of moms here that you guys have, or maybe you are the mom, she enrolled the boys in gladiator training school. That's logical, right? Gladiator training school. And they learned how to fight while we were there. And we got a good chuckle out of it, but at least it displayed some good spirits, because when we got back here in the United States, here in this office, I got a couple of doors right over there. And out those doors, I usually come out about 6 o'clock each night and I go find the boys and play with them. And I try to get out and I'm locked in and I'm trying to push and it won't move. And then I was able to wedge it enough to see that someone had tied ropes around the 2 door handles so they won't open. And so I'm like, who's this one? And so I push it enough to start untying it. As I'm untying it, I see John, my 4-year-old. He's on his knee, like this, down. He's on his knee, and he says, Goliath, Goliath, I'm going to get you. And he's shooting a slingshot at me, firing at me, boom. And at that moment, I knew John's okay. He's going to be okay. Like, it's settling. He's grabbed this identity as David now. And it kind of makes sense because David was the little brother. He's the little brother. But like, I just knew at that point, okay, he's going to be okay, even after the whole distressful situation. Habits drive our decisions. Decisions equal our destiny. Okay. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you know that you're not at the spot that you're capable of? If you know there's more, if you know you can step up another level, if you know you want to get a beautiful asset, maybe for your children or for your nonprofit or whatever it is, if you know that, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you know that you can step up another level. Is it okay if Chris and I share an opportunity with you where Chris and I can teach you how to step up 1 more level coming up in a week? Is it okay if I share that? Put a yes or a no in the chat if that's okay with you. I'd like to have your permission. Cool. All right. Awesome. Here's what we've got going down. 2-day event. It's on Zoom. You do not have to travel. It's Friday and Saturday next week. Everything is recorded 100%. If you can't make it all day Friday or all day Saturday, that's okay. We've got the recordings for you. Okay. You don't have to travel anywhere. So like, there's no extra expense for that. You can jump on with Chris and I. It'll be a small, intimate environment where we can actually go camera to camera and we can take your questions. We can go through your challenges that you're facing and all that kind of stuff. But what this is, it's a 2-day masterclass so that you can finally get deals that excite you and your investors. Okay. What does that look like? Literally virtual live 2-day. This will save you thousands of dollars by avoiding mistakes, number 1. And it's probably going to cut 5 to 10 years off your learning curve. Chris has been at this now for well over 15 years. I know because I saw him. I remember meeting him. We spoke on a stage together probably 12 or 13 years ago now. And we've just built a relationship ever since then. So the value is $7,500, but it will save you that and more for the rest of your life. Okay. Next thing is we are taking questions live. We're going to do 2 long Q&A sessions to make sure that we tackle the questions that you have. So if you're working on a deal, you want us to review it, whatever it is, bring it to the event and we'll be going through it with you as well. Okay. Next, who wants that funding list? Put 1 in the chat. If you want that earnest money lender, the proof of funds provider, the stabilized lender that we're using, the stabilized and also the bridge lender, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, awesome. This is for you. Philip or CJ, if you could please put the link in the chat, I'd appreciate it. This thing comes with it, Okay. You get the funding. You get the, like when I had to write the $300,000 earnest money check, Chris told me about a week later, he's like, Nate, by the way, I have a group that can do that for you. I'm like, really? What? And he starts describing, and then we said, let's put together the package for our team members. Like you guys coming in, joining us on Friday and Saturday next week, you will get the funding package with it. Okay. So you don't have to stress about not having the money or not having the proof of funds. You get it with this whole package. Okay. Next thing, the distress. And by the way, this next thing right here, who here, put a 1 in the chat if you like to know everything and sound smart before you start talking to people. Put a 1 in the chat if you like to sound smart and know everything before you start talking to people. If that's you, this is for you, okay? We have this book, it's called the Primer Book. This takes you from literally, I know this has been an amazing group. You guys are awesome, but it literally could take you from 0 to expert level in a short read. You'll naturally want to keep going on your journey and all that kind of stuff, but this can help you with the vocabulary. This can help you become that expert. It's complete with video guides as well. This book is worth a lot of money, but you want this too, okay? So the book comes with this purchase as well. Next, let's go back over here. The Distress Asset Workbook. So those of you that like to take notes, those of you that like to have something after a session to go back to and say, hey, look, here's all my notes in a nice broken down format, we have that for you, okay? It's literally, it looks like this. This is the workbook. You can go through it, flip along as Chris and I teach you. So then you've got something to go back to refer afterwards with all of your notes on it. Next thing, and this is probably the thing that people will be the most excited about. Who here would like the instant calculator that Chris and I use to evaluate our deals? Put a 1 in the chat if you'd like the calculator. This calculator right here, we've literally crunched the numbers on over 10,000 deals. We have been perfecting it as we go. It keeps getting better almost every single month. We do new updates to this thing and inputs. This is something that we previously only given away to our premium clients too, folks that pay us 10,000 plus. We're including this as part of the purchase. So the little bit of tuition that you'll pay for the 2-day event with us, this will more than pay for itself 100%. That calculator is, it's the bomb. We won't do a deal unless we have that. That is available for, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I'm just, when you flashed that up on the screen just a minute ago, I had this image that just popped in my head of the early days and how I would pull up a spreadsheet, a blank spreadsheet, every time I would get a new lead in or whatever. I didn't have a tool like that. So I'd pull up a blank spreadsheet and I would just be sitting at my keyboard wondering what to type in first. Where do I start? What do I start with? Income, expenses, whatever else. And I would literally sit there and try and pound out numbers for a long, long time to just see if this deal was even worth taking a look at or making an offer on or whatever. And so the fact that we have this tool already created now, all you have to do is go in and plug in the numbers that we show you. We're like, okay, these are the numbers you have to collect, plug them in right here. It'll spit out the numbers for you and you'll know what you should do with this deal. I had completely forgotten about that point because obviously we have the tool now, but wow, those were the days, right? When you had to figure it all out on your own.
It's so true. So true. Okay, so the calculator comes with it. So don't sit in front of a blank screen wondering what numbers to press. Just get the one that's already complete for you. We're giving away 20 of those max, and 13 of them have already been taken. I'll put this back up in a couple of minutes just to make sure that we're fair with this, but 13 spots have already been taken and we're doing 20 max on the calculator. Okay, that calculator, by the way, because we've analyzed over 10,000 deals, this will help give you the confidence that you need to really say yes to a deal. Next thing, those of you that want the vocabulary printed out in one spot, we have a dictionary for you. That dictionary looks like this. Literally dictionary of multifamily terms, $25 value. This will be like your little tour guide as you start to get into this world and go deep on it. We've figured out what terms you will need in advance so that you can look smart, sound smart when you're talking to agents, brokers, investors and sellers. You've got your terms right in front of you. You can flip to anytime. Next, total price for this, just FYI, it's worth well over $11,000, but total price for this is $247. To make this risk-free for you, we're also doing this. We're going to give you a gift card for the HomeInvest store. And the HomeInvest store looks like this. Oops, I just gotta pop this up. You've got things in here like this. You've got the clipboard that is a checklist for going on site and talking to sellers. Chris designed this. It's brilliant. Literally, all you have to do when you're talking to a seller is you can say, hey, do you mind if I go through the checklist to make sure we don't miss anything? It makes it so easy. And then you take all the pressure off when you're meeting with a seller because you're following a checklist. Same thing is printed on a water bottle. We've got hats. We've got sweatshirts. If you like the sweatshirt that I'm wearing like this, we've got stuff like that there. The reason that we're doing that is because we want you to know that this is risk-free. You come, you learn, you get a bunch of tools, and you get some really good tools, physical tools that you can use out in the field yourself. So that's the offer stack for you. It's $247. By the way, Chris, I know that you and we don't take the 247. We're not going to the bank and like cashing it and getting rich off of that by any means. Like we're doing something bigger. Like I won't get into all of that right now, but Chris and I feel like we're Christians, number one, but number two, we feel like we're called to do things to help other people. And so your 247, just know this, we support HomeInvest Kids, a nonprofit that helps fatherless youth. We support a whole bunch of other things like that. So that's what the money is really going towards. So Chris, if you wanted to add anything, you can, please. And then Philip or CJ, if you could put the link in the chat, that'd be amazing. We're going to switch over to questions in just a minute.
You know, I think about, yeah, we're definitely not getting rich off the 247. What it really does is it just shows, it proves to each of you that you're willing to jump in and take things seriously and everything. But I think about my original mentor who got me started in real estate and everything. And without him, I would have never done any of this. I would have never jumped into real estate or probably anything else. And so I've always had that desire to turn around and I guess pay it forward. That term gets used a lot these days, but just turn around and help other people like I was helped. And so, yeah, if you can come here, if you can come and be with us next weekend, we want you to be here. Again, not like Nate said for the $247, but because we know we've seen just how much this has changed our lives. And we want it to be able to change your life as well. Maybe you've been doing deals and maybe you're just at a plateau and you're like, I really want to take that next step. Or maybe you're just getting started and you're like, I want to jump into this because I know that the next couple of years are going to be some of the best years to be investing, just like back in 2008 was. And I don't want to miss this opportunity again. So if you can make it for it with us next week, or if you can't make it, I saw somebody before say, I can't be here next week. That's okay. I understand. We all have things come up, but even if you can't, the recordings are going to be available to you. All the other tools are going to be made available. Just don't want you to miss this opportunity because the next couple of years are going to provide opportunities that we haven't seen in 15 years. So, yeah.
So true. Okay, we're going to flip this thing over to questions. We got some of your guys' questions sent to us in advance. And if you've got more questions, you can type them in the chat and we'll take them for a little bit here. I do have to call it pretty hard stop in about 15 minutes because I have to head over and go meet an investor over in West Palm Beach. But we'll take some questions right now and we'll jump into it. And then for those of you that wanted to grab a spot, use the link. The dates are Friday and Saturday next week. So literally a week from now, we'll be hanging out, jamming together. Friday and Saturday, it's the 15th and the 16th. And hours are from 11 a.m. EST to 3 p.m. EST. So it's a block of time right in the middle of the day for each day, if you're on Eastern Standard Time. We will not be doing another one of these this year. Maybe next year sometime, but I don't know. We'll see. So if you wanted to do it, this is your window to do it. The replays are included with it if you can't make all of the hours that we're doing it together as well.
Awesome.
Bruce, can we get a Home Invest store link? We definitely can after somebody is in. I don't know if we can right now. One of our main tech guys, this word's going to sound funny, but it's called a slava. What that is basically like a Christmas party that's held on an annual time period. He's over in Belgrade, Serbia, and this is his Christmas party time. It was yesterday and today, so we're not going to overly pressure that young man to produce the store link right now. Cool. Chris, sorry, go ahead.
You got stuck with us. We don't have the tech links and everything. We just know how to invest. So Bruce will do our best to get that. But definitely once somebody's on the inside, you'll have access to all of those things. Yeah, we have a couple of interesting questions here, Nate. Can I fire a couple of these off?
Fire away.
All right. And by the way, if anybody else has a quick question, drop it in the chat. We'll get to that as well. But these were some that were sent in prior that were sent when you registered. So one of them, so how do you smooth up? I love the way, and forgive me, I'm not sure who submitted this one, but I love the way they worded it. How do you have to smooth up and get buddy with the real estate broker in order to get the really good deals? I love that. And that's some good imagery there.
So how do you smooth up, or do you have to smooth up? And Clint, I see your ticket too. So just so you know, Clint, you're confirmed. You've got one of the spots. I'll pop back and forth this, but Lucy, Ernest, Clint, you're good. Alton's good. Jeffrey's good. We'll pop back on that in a little bit. I don't feel like you have to smooth up or butter up to anybody, but what you do have to do is prove you're gonna close. So it's not like going out and networking and like, paying for people's lunches or anything like that. Brokers don't care about that. Let me just ask you a question. Put this in the chat. When do brokers get paid? When do brokers get paid? They get paid in advance. When do brokers get paid? Yeah, at closing. Spot on, Bruce. You guys are awesome. Yeah, when the transaction closes. And so that's what they care about. Like, they've got families. We just did a call with one of our brokers yesterday. I remember him and his wife were on the call. They have one of their kids that's kind of acting as a junior assistant, intern level. This is a husband and wife brokerage team. Like, this is what they do. And we're one of their primary buyers for stuff. Like, they want to know the deal is going to close. So if they're going to invest everything they've got for their whole family into that, they got to know you're going to close. So how do you do that? It's not pay for lunch. I've never even gone out for lunch with this broker. Never even once. We've closed one deal with them so far, and like, they're all in. They want to do more with us, but it wasn't smoothing up to anybody. It was just having the words and giving confidence that we're going to close. So the words, Chris, like, I know we've got the dictionary. Paige worked really hard with you to put that together. That helps with the words. We've got the primer book, which helps with the words. Anything else you'd say to help people like be able to speak the lingo to instill confidence that they're going to close?
Yeah. I love the fact that we have those resources and everything. And so you'll get a lot of great value just in reviewing those and kind of having them floating around in your head and everything. I would also say, just be genuine, be yourself, right? You're going to get these words. I want you to learn them. I want you to understand the concepts behind them and everything, but put it into your own way of saying things, put it into your own language, your own words and everything. Because people want to do business with other people. They don't want to do it with robots and things like that. So learn the language, but put it into your own way of speaking. And you'll find I don't speak very well. So if I can do it, any of you can do it. But yeah, just be yourself, be genuine.
Spot on. Cool. You got another question in your list, Chris?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you start without having a bunch of money? We've kind of covered this. We're going to cover it in a lot more detail next week. but it really boils down to the funding package, right? The funding kit that we have available. If you don't have a lot of those resources, it can be very, very difficult to convince anyone that you're worth their time, right? A broker, a seller, or anybody else that you're going to be doing business with. That's why we spent so much time putting that funding kit together. And so you don't have to have a lot of money to be able to get started in this. Not anymore. There are resources out there that you can take advantage of to be able to get started with very, very easy entry. So anything else you want to add to that, Nate?
Yeah, I started 2007. I was a Target employee at that time. Had some money, but not enough to go take down a commercial property. I bought a little single family rental house using bank financing and put down a down payment for it. And that kind of got me in the game, so to speak. But where everything really lit up for me and started to move fast is when we moved to commercial real estate. That requires large check sizes. But what I realized is that commercial is a team sport. It is not an individual sport. In fact, if you ever come across a killer commercial deal and you start to get tempted or greedy that you just want to do the whole thing yourself, I would say, please don't do that. It's so much better when you've got big numbers, we're talking millions of dollars, to have other people also looking at the deal. They just catch things, especially people with more experience than you. They catch things, they point things out, they question, and all of that is a good thing. You want that on your team. So if you just remember right from day one, commercial is a team sport. Stop trying to do it with your own bank account. I think you'll go much further, much faster. And you don't have to have your own bank account to do it. A little bit of money is good to start. Good credit is good to start. If you don't have those, then you just have to find partners that can, cover those gaps. But yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. All right. And we got one final question here, Nate. And this is a really, really good one. Again, we're going to be going into detail next week on more ways how to do this, but where and how do you find deals? These killer deals. You've shown some great examples earlier in the presentation and everything, but where do you even get started with that? How do you go find those deals?
Yeah, number one, when we do the event next week, and I just put the link in there for who was that was looking for that?
Oh, John.
That was John. John, just that link right there that I put there, that's how you grab your ticket. And there's a couple spots left for the bonus stack with I saw Clint came in and Ernest came in and Lucy came in. So there's a couple spots left for that. And then once they're gone, then we're capping on the calculator. So how do you actually, Chris, remind me like the core of this question.
Yeah, just the best ways to find deals when these killer deals, right?
Okay, cool. So Chris is going to have a whole bunch. I'm going to have a whole bunch. But at the event, one of them is right now you can actually search listed properties for assumable right now. It's a keyword search, ASSUMABLE, literally the word assumable. It's a keyword search that you can go in and search. And then once you get the data that comes up from that, then you start to look at when they bought it. And what you're looking for is you want to match it to a low interest rate environment in history. As an example, what was the interest rate 3 years ago? Does anyone remember? What was the interest rate 3 years ago? Type that in the chat. What was that interest rate then? We're finding some deals literally that have loans on them in the 4s. We had one that we looked at that was in the 3% range. And so that's one way you can create a killer deal. Takes a little bit of digging, a little bit of searching, but you can do it that way. The other way is that if you can pull a list of everyone that bought 2 years ago that took out a loan that only had a 2-year life on it. So they bought 2 years ago and they took out a loan that only had a 2-year life on it. You search by loan maturity dates. We'll be going through that and a lot more. We'll get into the how-tos at the event when we have more time and we can screen share and things like that. But that's how you find them. You look for signs that the individual that owns it right now could be running into a dead end or could be running into trouble. Great question.
Very good.
Reasonable says his house is at 3.5%. Nice.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. hold on to that for a little while. um, great. So Nate, thank you so much for putting this on and everything. That's those are the main questions. Like Nate said, we're going to go in to a lot more detail on how to find properties next week and how to fund them, because both of those things work hand in hand. It's one thing to find them, but if you can't fund them, it doesn't do us much good, and vice versa. If you can't find them, then the funding doesn't work. So we will definitely be diving deeper into both of those. So thanks for helping answer those, Nate.
Cool. I will go through and just recap this one more time so everyone knows what we're getting when you come to the event. Number one, you get a gift card to the Home Invest store where we've got cool merch and tools like the mugs, the sweatshirts, the hats, clipboards, water bottles that have meaningful tools on them. Literally, Chris took time to write out our entire script of what we say to a seller when we're on site looking at a property. It works really good because you can just look at the seller and say, hey, can I go through the checklist with you to make sure we don't miss anything? And the seller always says yes as we go through that. And then for the event itself, it's literally 2 days of Chris, myself, and we've got a host of guests coming, 3 to 4 other real estate folks that have worked with us, that have done this business, that we feel can teach you a lot. We're bringing them as well. So the 2-day masterclass, $7,500 value, it'll save you way more than that over the next 5 years, because we're going to save you 5 to 10 years of your life as well. We're doing the real estate Q&A. Literally, you can bring your deals to it. You can bring your challenges that you have. We'll be doing stuff back and forth on camera so that we can talk to you about your situation. And we're just going to help you during those sections. You'll also get Chris's fast funding toolkit. This is, remember, if you want to get someone to cover your earnest money, if you want to get proof of funds for your deals, if you don't want to have to write the $300,000 earnest money check that I did, then you'll want Chris's fast funding kit. That's part of this package. It's included with it. The next, for those of you that want to sound smart right from day number 1 and you want to do the research ahead of time, we're going to give you the primer book, which comes with videos to help you get acclimated right now. Okay, so that we put at a $250 value, but literally it's kind of like a miniature course in a book that you can start on today so you're ready for the event next week. We're also including the session workbook. So those of you that like to have a fill in the blank template and you want a spot to be able to come back to with all of your notes, we got it for you. This is the ultimate blueprint so you can retain and learn this information. Most importantly, implement with us while we're there, okay? The bonuses are for those of you that sign up with us today. And the biggest one, which we're going to run out of spots on, as soon as we end this webinar and we push out all the follow-up emails and things like that, then this one will be completely full. We're only taking 20 people. I see Clint and I see John, you grabbed a spot after everybody else did. So there's only 5 spots total left for that. Once we push out the follow-up stuff, 100% of those will be gone. Okay, but you get our underwriting calculator. This is the calculator right here. We pushed over 10,000 deals evaluation through our office. We know a thing or two when it comes to evaluation. We're going to give you the tool that we use every single day in our business. This is something that previously we'd only given to people that are our premium clients that pay us $10,000 plus. So this is huge, massive value for you. The next one is the dictionary. Those of you that want to have the terms at your fingertips, we have the dictionary for you. The dictionary, literally, it's one that we just know what you're going to bump into. If you want to have the quick guide at your fingertips, you can have the dictionary today so that you can look up the multifamily terms that you want more help on. Next one is you get the gift card for $247. If you want some of the cool tools that we've talked about, or the merchandise, or the mugs that Paige put in the chat, we've got them for you. And this is just to make this whole thing risk-free for you. Yes, you come to the event, you're going to learn way more than $247 worth of material. You will learn literally $11,000 or more there. But in addition to that, we're making it risk-free for you by giving you the $247 store credit at the Home Invest store. And then last but not least, we get Chris Strickland. Now, I say that and I get to smile and laugh about it, but I'm serious. You don't find guys like Chris usually willing to just open up and share. And so like when we take our team and set them aside, our team, we're buying real estate right now. That is our heart and soul of our business. It's where we make all of our money. And when we pull the team aside to do this for individuals, we're really just pouring back into you. The $247 does not make us wealthy at all. We get more than that away just to make this all happen. But we get Chris Strickland that's coming to this. If you want an expert real estate investor to answer your questions and to teach you for 2 days, this is your chance to do it. You got Chris live, not in person, but live on Zoom, so you don't have to travel. And that's kind of a priceless thing. With that said, Chris, I'm going to close this thing down. Everyone, just so you know, the links will disappear as soon as we close the Zoom window. So take a second now to click the link and it'll open on your browser and then you can fill out the form on it. But as soon as we close this thing down, everything disappears. And then Chris and I go enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we're coming to Rocket on Friday and Saturday next week. Chris, anything else you wanted to hit?
Awesome. No, appreciate all that, Nate. I do want to address Chasm's question there. Why does it say different days, Wednesday through Friday or Friday and Saturday? And Paige kind of answered it there in the chat. But just to be very super clear, the link does, or the chat message does have the wrong days on. It is not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It is next Friday and Saturday, the 15th and the 16th. So those dates are correct. November 15th, November 16th, but that is Friday and Saturday next week, not Wednesday. So just our mistake, just a simple typing error, but it is next Friday, next Saturday. And we would love to have everyone there that can possibly make it. And again, if you can make it one day, but not both days, then you will have all of those recordings. So it's just going to be a fantastic time. We're gonna pour everything we possibly can into it. So, Nate, thank you. Thanks for letting me be a part of this today.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And Kazem, I hope I'm saying that right. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I see you got your ticket as well. So you've
Awesome.
reduced it down to only 4 spots left for the instant calculator bonus. And those will be gone once we send out the follow-up emails. So we'll see you there, Kazem. We'll see you there, John. We'll see you there, Clint, Ernest, Lucy, Alton, Jeffrey, Jennifer, Bruce, Quilly, Julie, Terry, Lori, Christine. I won't go through all of them now, but we're looking forward to working with you guys on Friday and Saturday next week. I know that what Chris and I do, like every single day, it's going to help bless a lot of lives. So hopefully it creates a ripple for you and for your family. Cool. Chris, thanks again. Appreciate you. And then Paige and CJ and Philip, thanks for coming in to support on a Saturday. We'll see you guys on Friday next week. Remember to click the link before we close this window. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.